Hello, everyone. My name is Caydan, and welcome to the Back to the Culture podcast. This podcast will be a look into the past. We'll cover 70s, 80s, and 90s, some of the best years of filmmaking. We have some fun segments, and I hope you all enjoy nerding about films as much as me. The 1970s was a great decade for filmmaking. It's often been described as the last decade in the golden age of Hollywood. Whether you agree or disagree with that, it's undeniable that film thrived in this era. The reason I picked these years is because these are the years most cinephiles are obsessed with: 70s, 80s, and 90s. I also think that these decades have had the most influence on modern filmmaking, and I feel like we've lost that Hollywood feeling. People aren't going to the cinemas like they used to. With the rise of streaming services, it's simple and more affordable and convenient to stream films from home. But that feeling in the cinema, experiencing a film with a group of friends, getting the popcorn and watching the trailers before, nothing beats that. Without further ado, let's get to our first segment, the cult film segment. For a film to be a cult film, it needs to have a highly devoted fan base over time, even if it isn't widely known or made buttloads of money. The first film we'll be discussing is A Clockwork Orange. The film centers around a teenage thug named Alex, who is the leader of a gang named the Droogs. The film is set in futuristic dystopian Britain. This is shown with the crazy style of everyone's outfits and the kind of futuristic looking inventions. Alex and his gang are worthless street thugs. In the film, there's many scenes of them robbing, killing, and raping people. There's also a lot of nudity, which I wouldn't have expected in a 1970 film. A 1971 film. I thought they were more traditional. I thought nudity and stuff started like in the 1980s, 90s, started becoming more prevalent, but I was obviously wrong. The film obviously deals with some extremely disturbing themes, which some audiences and critics didn't like, but it achieved in gaining the film a large cult following. This is Kubrick's fifth film in his career. The main character, Alex, is deplorable and evil, but he's interesting. The way he talks about the things happening to him in his broken English, gibberish type way is unique and extremely well written. It's a great film that expertly comments on societal issues of the time and manages to entertain while doing so. The film is still relevant today with how prisoners are treated and how the government controls our day to day life. But now it's time to talk about the Oscars. It's time to take a look back at the Oscars of the 1970s. Let's go back to the Oscars. Now, this is a picture of Dennis Hopper and Jack Nicholson. They were at the 42nd annual Oscars event. The year was 1970, and they had just starred in a film called Easy Rider in 1969. A film that kind of explores themes of drugs and rebellion. A kind of new film that might have not been appreciated at the time. And here we have Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, his wife. This is when he won Best Actor at the 44th annual Oscar ceremony for the film French Connection. And now these people, Betsy and Gene Hackman, have just passed recently, so rest in peace to both of them. And here we see Robin Williams. He was presenting an honorary award at the 51st Academy Awards to Lance for his work in the arts and animation field. I bet he had a really funny speech prepared for presenting. And who do we have here? This is a very interesting story. In the 1974 Oscars, while David Niven was presenting, a shrieker ran across the stage doing a peace sign with his fingers. David Niven had a very funny comment on the incident. He said, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was almost bound to happen, isn't it? Fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get is in his life is by stripping off and showing off his shortcomings." Very quick-witted from David Niven. And here we see the crew behind One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. The film won 5 Oscars. Best Actor, which was Jack Nicholson. Best Actress, Louise Fletcher. Best Picture, which went to the producers, Michael Douglas. Best Adapted Screenplay, which went to Lawrence Hauben and Bo Goldman. And Best Directing, which went to Milos Forman. Now, this film is one of only three films to win all five Oscars. It's One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest, Silence of the Lambs, and It All Happened One Night. So it's kind of joining that very esteemed crowd of film. So must have been a one good night for them. And that's all we've got time for the Oscars. Hope you enjoyed that little segment. Now, time for our sponsor. This episode was brought to you by Tsunami Comics. It's a Scottish owned comic business coming out of Paisley. They have a deluxe version coming out of their first published comic. They will also be hosting an event for the release of their comic and official website at Paisley Library on the 3rd of June. The link for tickets is in the description, or you can scan this QR code to get your tickets. Thanks to Tsunami Comics for sponsoring the podcast, and let's get back to the culture. We spoke a lot about Gene Hackman in the last segment, and it brings up a really good topic Superman. It was a film made in 1978, and it starred both Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor and Christopher Reeves as Superman. It was a really good film. It was the first good comic book film, and it kind of launched DC on a cinematic level. Many people say it was the role that Christopher Reeves and Gene Hackman were born to play. But without further ado, we've got another little game for you. It'll test both of our film knowledges, and it's called Back to the Scene. Now, this PowerPoint has been made by a mate of mine, so I don't know any of the films that are going to come up, so I'm playing along with everyone. The name of the game is we see a scene and we try and decipher which film that scene is from. They will all be 70s films, so don't mention an 80s film or a 90s film. Without further ado, let's go ahead. Okay, okay. So I see Gene Wilder. It's black and white. I think this is quite an easy one, but give you some time to figure it out. I think that it could be Young Frankenstein. There we go. Pretty good. Pretty easy one for the first one. Pretty iconic film. Okay, here's another one. Okay, looks like Clint Eastwood in prison in the 1970s. So I only know one film where he could have been in prison in the 1970s, and it is Escape from Alcatraz. Let's see if I got it right. Hey, 1979. Ah, so I thought that film was early 1970s. It's quite interesting. Ah, okay, okay. We see a cable car. It looks like some sort of island. It's in a different country, obviously, not America, or the UK. So I'm gonna guess it looks like that's Jaws. He's a villain in the James Bond series, but I'm pretty sure he only appears in James or no Roger Moore films. So I'm gonna have to guess one of them, which my knowledge of are not quite well. I've not a good knowledge of James Bond. I'm going to have to guess Moonraker. Ah, pretty good. Also 1979. Didn't know them films were made that late. Here's another one. I think this is quite easy, and I think we both know what this is. We see a kind of candy land, obviously. I'm just gonna guess it. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, there we go. 1971, so earlier than those both films. Very good film with Gene Wilder. Oh, okay, okay. Looks like it's 1950s, although obviously it'll be a 1970s film. Um, I don't know who any of these actors are, so I'm a bit confused. There's nothing jumping up at me right now, so I'm gonna have to forfeit. Tell me in the comments if you know this one. Let's reveal. American Graffiti. Ah, okay. That's on my watch list. That's a film by George Lucas, I believe. I think anyway, or maybe Steven Spielberg. So that's pretty good. What did I get? 4 out of 5. It's pretty good. Comment how much you got, so we can see who's better, the audience or Caydan. It's time for our first poster segment. As you can see, we've got Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, obviously composed by legendary composer John Williams. A perfect film that plays on, I'd say, two of the biggest fears out there: the fear of sharks and the fear of the ocean. The film is also completely made with practical effects, which was good, as 1970s and CGI did not mesh, as many films proved. The most iconic films. Now let's discuss them. Star Wars, as we mentioned, was very iconic in that era. It kind of pushed the sci-fi films like forward. Obviously, a lot of sci-fi films came after. Obviously, influenced. I know the Dune films are kind of influenced by Star Wars, so that influenced a lot. We've got The Exorcist, which won Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. We've got Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro, obviously directed by Martin Scorsese. Perfect film that a lot of films have been inspired by. We've got All the President's Men. There's countless films in the 1970s that are so iconic. And we've got another film that could be actually mentioned in our cult segment, The Last Picture Show, starring Tim Curry. Very good film. It's very camp, and that's probably the best feature of the film. But let's go on to future film news. We spoke about Star Wars in the podcast, and if we go into the future, there's been some massive developments in Disney's original universe in 2025. Actress Daisy Ridley is starring in a new original Star Wars film. The film is set to be directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. The film will apparently take place 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, and will be about Rey trying to rebuild the rebellion, but it's unclear at this point whether the film will be completely faithful to all the events of the original sequel trilogy. A lot of people had huge and reasonable complaints about them. And yeah, so I didn't like the sequels. I'm more of a prequel and original boy, so the sequels was definitely something that I thought they might retcon because obviously people didn't like it. But you never know. Daisy Ridley could be a good film. And now for 70s horror. Horror became a cornerstone film in the film of the 70s. Jaws was massive, obviously. We had films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which delightfully horrified audiences with its gore and sheer terror. We had Alien, which was also an example of sci-fi thriving in the 1970s, although it was made in 1979, so almost the 80s. This film also utilised a mixture of practical and computer-generated effects, which helped to bring the alien to life. We obviously had Halloween, which came out in the decade of 1978, and it inspired a generation of costumes on October 31st. But it was also Oscar-winning Jamie Lee Curtis, his first film. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of the Back to Culture podcast. We've covered a lot, from cult films to 70s horror. Please leave a comment if you like the podcast, and thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time for the 80s episode. Bye for now.